of Navkiran, meaning the new light. The mentors of Navkiran are part of the largest corporates across different industries with diverse experiences. With MBA degrees in marketing, finance, consulting, operations, and HR, each of their mentors provide state of the art personalized mentoring and learning solutions to meet your career goals. Sir, we are delighted to re-host you for this informative session and help our batch in acing various case study competitions. Talking about a speaker, we'll first like to start with a quote. Whatever the problem, be a part of the solution. Don't just sit around raising questions and pointing out obstacles. An accident engineer and MBA by choice, Sumit sir has over 5 years of corporate experience at PNG and Microsoft. He's a 2018 pass out from Excelrai Jamshedpur. At PNG, he was managing a business of approximately 8,000 crore plus as the HR business partner for sales. A few months back, the entrepreneurial bug bit him and he is now managing his own business. Starting with being selected as PNG emerging leader in his first year in college, Sir has won many multiple case competitions such as Samsung Edge, ITC Interrobank, Marico Over the Wall, and HUL Premier League. Not only that, he is also one of the top 100 in Jombe's HR 40 under 40 list in India. He loves sports and follows Dhoni when talking about cricket professionally. Sir, we are proud to host you today at ExaMB. Hope we'll have an enriching experience with you. You Over to you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Harshit, could you just let me know the number of participants that we have live?
We have approximately 335 participants right now.
335. All right. So, and is everyone on mute or can people speak?
Yeah. So there are people who are not. Guys, please mute yourselves. Everyone who is on unmute.
All right. So if I have any questions or if can people answer on the chat, we can do that interaction, right?
Yeah, sure. Also, there'll be we have managed it in such a way that there'll be a raise hand option, which will be the go-to mode for answering questions, for asking questions, and then you can interact with them.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
Cool. So thanks a lot for the introduction, Harshit. Quite a lot said, but guys, I'm really glad to be a part of this session. Quite a long time that after which I'm talking to such a large group of participants. So I'm really happy to be here. Debo, just a quick check. Do you want to add something? Do you want to start or shall I go ahead with the session?
You go ahead, Sumit.
Sir, there are a few people in the waiting room. Just allow them in and then you can log the meeting.
Done, Harshit.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, sir.
Cool. All right. So welcome everyone. Today's session, as I'm told, this is probably the third or fourth session that you guys are having about case studies. And before me also multiple people have spoken to you about how to crack case competitions and a lot of things like that, right? So of course, a disclaimer is that some things or a few things might be similar to what people have told. But what I'm going to do is share my experiences of the case competitions that I've won and what works, and also as an from the perspective of a judge of a case competition of what do we look at when we are looking at the solutions and when we are shortlisting solutions for the final round. So really glad to be here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the session interactive. That's what I think everyone says. Every speaker says the same line, right? We're going to keep the session interactive. But anyway, so whenever you have any questions, you can definitely raise hand as Harshit was mentioning, or ask on chat. At times, I'm also going to ask you just to quickly ask questions or to share your experiences over the chat. If any one of you wants to share your experiences by unmuting yourself, you can do that as well. Okay, so let me quickly share my screen. Debo, you will need to give me access to share my screen.
Just a second, Sumit.
Yeah.
Sumit, please check.
Yeah, I have the access. I'm going to share it. Yeah, can you see my screen? Can someone just confirm?
Yes, yes.
All right, great. So quite a lot of you might have a few raised eyebrows because of the way I have mentioned the topic, which is models, frameworks for case competitions, but those are struck across. Right, so we'll talk about that as and when we'll go through the session. So just keep your patience. Don't leave the meeting just now. Right, I'm sure you'll take back something for sure out of this, and that's what my expectation is as well. So I mean, Harshit has already given a great introduction about me, so I don't need to say anything else. So let me quickly begin. All right. 1 second. All right. So guys, I want you to tell me, this is probably one of the most important, we have jumped right into frameworks, and this is one of the most important things that you will come across. So can you guys just quickly, put on chat of what do you think this means? Can people just use the chat box and tell me what this means? What do you think this means? All right, I have only one as of now: design, strategy, teamwork, management. Interesting. Anyone else? Drawbacks, strengths, threats, management. Nice. Anyone else? Dynamic systems development method. Okay, I think it's getting interesting with each comment. All right, so let me not waste any more time. One thing that is for sure is that we as MBA students can, time to market marketing. Great. So we as MBA students can probably acronymize anything or everything that is possible, right? So my belief has basically been approved. So guys, the full form is don't shoot the messenger. The messenger here is myself, right? So as I said, I'm here to take the session, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my experiences of what works or what worked for me, what didn't work for me. I'm going to share my experiences of how I used to judge the competitions, along with, of course, the other leadership team members, sales directors, HR directors in my firm. But quite a lot of times it might happen that what I'm telling you, you might think that this might not work, but something else has worked for you. So go with that. Today, what I'm going to tell you are some of the guidelines that most generally works, but the underlying theory is don't shoot the messenger. Don't think that whatever I'm telling you has to be there. Whatever I'm not telling you can never be there, right? So just a quick humorous take on that, right? So quickly, can some of you guys quickly write down your expectations of what you are expecting out of this session? Just 30 seconds. Please just quickly mention in the chat, what are you expecting out of this session? right. Approach, financials, out of the box, how to solve case studies. Great. Approach and framework, strategy to understanding the expectations, strategy and solution, right approach, business modeling, pricing strategy. All right, I think we have got enough. So let me just quickly summarize. Able to understand and develop dynamic strategies for solving case studies while ensuring practical applicability. Nice. Approaching and framework of a case, how to be better at narrating story, very important. Pricing strategy and relevant frameworks for different domains. Approach to business modeling, all right. Understanding the key aspects to look for in case studies, right approach. Is all right. So mostly there are 3-4 things that I'm looking at. The one is, of course, the overall approach, how to solve case studies, how to crack case studies, what strategy to use while solving the case studies. And some part of it is towards some specifics, which is how to probably make the financials of a case, what frameworks to use, what business models to use, how to stand different, and how to understand the perspective of the panelists, right? So this is what I have got from you guys. So mostly this is what I'm going to cover in the session as well. So not very, very different from what I thought that you guys are expecting and what I have in store for you guys. All right, so great. All set. Now, what I'm going to do is just quickly tell you the agenda of the meeting. So first, we will talk about what is being judged. Now, the entire approach to a case study, the entire strategy of how to solve a case study is something that I did not include here because I was told that you already have had multiple sessions regarding that. So I focused more on the other part. But since a lot of you guys are asking, I'll just quickly take 5 minutes and talk about that as well. We'll talk about what is the judging criteria, the competition stages, busting a few myths, how to start, a few models, frameworks. Again, a big surprise lying there. Case financials, a few tips for the financials. I'll talk more in terms of the example so that I don't look like someone who is just blabbering. What I want to do is share the winning case PPT example so that you understand the real cases that I have submitted that have won, and see what were different in those cases, and probably compare it with what you have been doing till now, so that you understand why the cases have won and why you have lost. So that's probably going to give you the most understanding. So I'm going to spend maximum time on talking about the winning examples of ITC, of Samsung, of Marico, of all of these things, right? And then in the end, of course, we are open for Q&A. All right. So 1 second, I think. Yeah. All right. So can again, a few of you in whoever is replying on the chat, can you guys please wear your MBA hats again and tell me what is this? What graph is this? I'm expecting to, have amazing replies. All right. So we start with demand curve. Demand. Why demand? Why not supply? All right. Everyone is saying demand curve. Demand. Negatively sloped graph. Well, that was straightforward enough. All right, so guys, we all know it's a graph, but what I'm asking you to guess is what is this graph? What does this graph signify? Any ideas? All right. So I got one very interesting answer. Okay. The amount of competition as we progress further in a case competition. So Avinash Acharya. Great. So graph of a Yes Bank stock. Nice one, Navkiran. All right. So guys, Avinash got it, right? So this is a graph of a case competition, which is in the top left corner. That's when a case competition is floated in our emails and we are all really excited. यार इसमें तो part लेना है, इसमें तो फाड़ देना है, इसमें तो पक्का जीतना ही है, right? That's how it starts. And as you go down the graph, you will see people who have downloaded the case, then people who have read, the number keeps on reducing. Then people who have formed teams, again the number reduces. Then people who initially submit the first draft, the number of people or the number of entries get reduced even further. And as you come down to the right corner, down below, that's where is the final 10 or 15 teams, or probably the final 5 teams who are finally there in the campus round, right? So why is this important? This is important so that someone in the chat also wrote that they're looking for inspiration out of this session, right? This is one of the pointers that you should note, that more than half of your competition is gone even before you have submitted the case. More than half, which is around 60% of people don't even submit the final case PPT. So more than half of your competition has already gone from there, and you have 50% more chance to now win, right? So that's a very important aspect. And though it might sound philosophical, might sound motivational, but what better motivation than this? Because you already know that you are better than 50% people, and at least you're taking the part. And if more than 50% people are not even submitting, then you have a very good chance, right? So this is something that I really wanted to share, because that's what happens. And you might have seen, and some of you might be laughing because you are probably in one of the top left corners, right? So let's talk about what is actually tested. What are the things that the judges of a case competition look for? Okay. Now, guys, the reason why companies give case competitions, the reason why the problem statements are shared, they have multiple reasons. The first is it's an actual business problem that they are facing. It's an actual business problem in more than 95% of the cases, and it's a very cheap way, or very easy way to get a solution, which is to float it in a lot of colleges and get great ideas. Right? That's one. Second is, of course, to get better people out of the campuses, so that as soon as they see that you have the problem solving capability that they're looking for, you will be shortlisted. You will be probably offered a PPI or a PPO out of a case competition itself, right? Now, if this is the reason that they have shared the competition, then there are a few things that they look at. Very simply, do you have the ability to think in the way that the company expects, which is in the right structured approach? Structured thinking is the most important thing that is tested. Second, are you able to understand the problem? Again, let me give you a fact. In all of my experience of judging more than 15-20 case competitions and taking part in quite the same number, I've seen more than 50% people don't even understand the problems, right? Now, if that is the reason, just a second. One second. Yeah. So more than 50% of the people don't even understand what the problem statement was. They will give you great ideas. They will give you great solutions. They will give you a number of different areas that you can touch upon, do this, do that. But they will be solving for a completely different problem. And that's when we as judges look at it, we are like, what is the point of even looking at this PPT? Because they have not even understood what the problem was. Trust me, it might sound very banal, but that's how it is. People don't even understand what the problem is. As soon as you read a case, you quickly jump to ideas. You quickly have a lot of ideas. You just want to go and solve the problem. That's what happens. So first, structured thinking, structured approach to problem solving. That's one. Second is, have you understood the problem really well? Third is, do you have the ability to articulate what you are talking, to articulate what you have written? That's what is tested, right? Now, it might sound very simple. Yeah, these are the three things probably. It's very simple. I can make a good PPT. I can probably, the holistic approach, the structured approach to thinking is not that easy, because not everyone can think structured. In MBA, there are so many models because they help you to think structured, right? But the MBA frameworks, the models that we all know of, we can talk about the marketing models, the BCG matrix, Ansoff matrix, the 4P, 7P, McKinsey 7P. All of these are Pestel or Porter. There are a number of frameworks that are there. Okay. Now anyone can use these frameworks. It's out there. We are taught, and anyone can use this. But are the judges really looking to see whether you know how to use this framework? No. The big answer is no. They are not looking for what frameworks you have used. They are not looking for whether you have used 4P, whether you have used 7P, whether you have, designed a solution around those frameworks. No, that is not how a case competition is judged. Never. Because when you use frameworks, more often than not, it shows that probably you haven't used your brains. Probably you have just used a framework that is out there, and you haven't, used your brains enough to come up with some structure of your own. In MBA PPTs, in the college PPTs, in the subject PPTs, even I have done when I was in my MBA, we talk about Pestel. The first slide is political, the second slide is environmental, and all of that, right? We explain the framework. Now that is not what is to be done here. All right. So as I said, what you need to take back from this slide is what is tested, the structured thinking approach. Second is whether you have understood the problem. Third is whether you have thought about the solution holistically. Now, this holistically thinking about the solution also includes whether your solution is just an idea or a solution. There's a big difference between an idea and a solution. And again, most of the people give ideas. They don't give solutions. I'll tell you the difference as we go ahead. All right. Cool. Now, these are the three stages of all right. These are the three stages of a case competition: the start, the preparation, the delivery. Very simple. When we talk about the start, now to all of those people who are asking of how to approach the case competition, you first have to start with the right intent, right? The intent has to be that I am in it to win it. I am taking part in this competition to win it. I'm taking part in this competition to go and see this through till the end. Because as I said, if you remember that graph, half of your competition will be wound down just before you need to submit your PPT. Everyone will be waiting for that deadline extension email. Trust me. Sorry. Second, have the right team. Now, this is something that is very important. I'm sure the sessions that you have had previously also, people must have talked about that. In my first year, I mostly experimented around with a few people. And once a fixed set of 2 to 3 people were confirmed, that's what I then went ahead with in all the competitions in the second year. Now, having the right team is very important. You cannot have people in your team who have the same set of skills as you have, because then you will not have a different perspective in the case. You will not have different set of skills in this when you're solving for cases. What I used to do is, if I have a particular skill in, let's say, finance, then the other person has a slight more inclination towards marketing or towards operations or towards PPT making or towards video making. Some or the other complementing skill has to be there, right? And of course, the way that people collaborate, you have to have the right set of people with you. Third is the right processes. Now, I'll talk about those in a few moments when we talk about the steps that you need to follow. Don't just directly start with immediately thinking about what can we do, what are the solutions that are possible, what are others doing, all of that. That's not how you go about it. We have to start with something and then end with something, right? The second is the preparation, which is you have to do extensive research. That's what I meant by following the right process. You have to start with extensive research. You cannot just jump to the solution. As I said, not many people even understand the problem. So there has to be an extensive research, both primary as well as secondary, that is to be done for your preparation. Follow a structured approach, as I mentioned. Is there a flow in the information that you're giving in your PPT, or are you just explaining the framework? That will not flow through. The flow of information will actually flow through. And logic backed solutions. So as I was saying, there's a difference between an idea and a solution. An idea is just an idea. Probably many guys will have those ideas, but a solution that a company who gives a case competition is looking for is a logic backed solution, an implementable solution. All right. And the final one is the delivery, when you are presenting in front of the panel. So I never used to present without a written script of what I'm going to say. Now, we all have given presentations in our MBA classes where we take up individual slides and we just talk about, you will talk about this slide, I will talk about this slide, I'll talk about this slide. Now, that is not how case PPTs are presented, right? You have to have a written script of what you're going to say. There have to be certain very, very important hitting words or keywords that you're going to talk to the judges to directly connect with them. Now, figure this out. For example, if someone is from, let's say, a particular category in ITC, let's say the category of Ashirvad Atta, right? And there are a few words, few important words that are always used for each category. For example, with personal care, there are certain words like privacy or safety, things like that. So if you can use those proper brand recall words and connect with the judge, that's when you will definitely get an edge, because then the feeling that they will have is this person understands what we in our office talk about daily, right? That's a very important point. Second is the storytelling. It cannot be that one person is talking one slide, the other person is talking the other slide, and there's no connect. That should never be there. When you talk in your PPT, there has to be a storytelling. A very simple example is the way I used to always present my case PPTs. We used to first write a script and then connect all the flow. That initially, when we started with looking at all of these things. And when we went deep into it, we saw that these are probably the top 5 things that we have constantly seen. When we went into the depth and spoke to customers, we figured out that round and round, ultimately it boils down to these 2 things. Now, these 2 things, when we thought more about, we figured out that these 2 things can be solved using these 3. Now, these 3 options are there. In these 3 options, we saw that the option number 1 and 2 are not that feasible because of XYZ reason, including the financials. And option 3 is we saw that it's working. It will probably work out well. To work out option 3, these are the things that we are suggesting. And if we do this, this is probably the way that we are going to go forward. We can implement it in this much time. This is the costing that we will get, and XYZ. Right? I just told you a very, very simple way of presenting. Now, stitching through all the data that you have, stitching through all the insights that you have, stitching through all the solutions that you have into this format is what is the key to storytelling. And the third is TTT model. Now, again, for the guys who love frameworks, this is another framework. The TTT model is, the first T stands for tell them what you are going to tell them. Second T is tell them. And the third T is tell them what you just told them. So the meaning is, the first T is tell them what you're going to tell them, which is give a brief of your agenda of what you're going to talk about, what all is your PPT going to include. Second T is tell them, which is the actual delivery of all the content. And the third T is tell them what you just told them, which is the summary. So that the important points, whatever you want them to remember, the key takeaways from each slide or from the entire presentation, they will remember. So this TTT model is something that always helps. And you might have seen that I'm also following the same. And that always helps, so that you are striking or you are registering some things in the judge's mind by repeating what you told and by giving them a summary or a key takeaway from each slide. All right. So guys, remember, start, preparation, delivery. This is just a very brief summary of how you actually go about a case. Now, this is a myth that we all, a lot of the students in MBA colleges have. I have seen this round and round and so many times. Using models and frameworks gives you an edge in winning competitions. This is a big myth. Let me tell you the reality. I have not used a single framework in all the competitions that I've taken part in all the competitions that I've won. All the friends that I know of, the competitions that they have taken part, not even a single framework used. Now, what do I mean by framework? By framework, I mean the standard frameworks, which is BCG matrix or Ansoff matrix or any analysis model or any business model or anything like that. Never have I seen anyone in my experience using a standard framework in their PPTs, in their solutions. Right? Now, why is this? It is because frameworks or models are just the way that you solve problems. So that, as we were talking earlier also, it gives you a structured way of thinking. It gives you a way to not miss out on anything that you are supposed to look at. That's all that a framework does. Don't think that you need to have a list of frameworks that if a marketing case comes, excuse me, if a marketing case comes, then, and if a marketing new product launch case comes, then these two frameworks are there to be used. It will never work like that. Trust me. This is out of my own experience as taking part in PPTs, in case competitions, and this is also from my experience of judging competitions, right? Frameworks are not what the judges are looking for in your PPT. What they're looking for is logic. What they're looking for is structure in your thinking. Now, you might use, I'm not saying that you cannot use any frameworks or any frameworks that are there out, the standard frameworks. It's not like you cannot use. Point is, don't make that the central point of your solution, that if I use frameworks, then I will win. If I use some business model, then I will win. No, that is never how it happens. And let me show you, in the end, when we talk about examples, I'll show you all the competition PPTs that I have made. In none of them, you will see any frameworks. In some, you might see SWOT analysis. That's a very common framework that everyone uses. But apart from that, nothing else. All right. Now, some of you might be really disappointed that you were looking, you attended this session to probably get a list of all the frameworks that you're supposed to use and all of that. Well, hold on, just hold on a few more seconds or a few more minutes. Listen out and trust me that when I show you the PPTs, when I tell you how exactly to think about solutions, how exactly to go about PPTs, or how exactly have I gone about PPTs, because example works best in these cases, then you will see what I mean by using a structured thinking, what I mean by frameworks. You will always, by the way, you will always use some or the other framework in your solutions. But that framework has to be thought of by your own mind, by your own brain. You don't have to use a set framework. That's what this slide means. So just remember that. Okay. All right. Yeah. So let's talk about the start, which is where a lot of people fail. More than 70% of the submissions that we have received in all the competitions that I've judged, they didn't even understand the core problem. By core problem, and this is if you guys are there in your second year, probably second years might realize in all your internship experiences, in MBA internship experiences, you might have seen this, that after the first month in your second, just in your midterm PPT, quite a lot of you get this feedback that you are probably not looking at the problem. You are not understanding the problem, because that's what happens. The people who have made or who have formulated the case study, the people who have given you the problem statement, they have been working on that problem statement for quite some time, and they were not able to solve it, or they want more ideas. That's why they have given this problem statement out. Now, their understanding of the problem, of course, is very, very in depth. So you have to understand the problem, if not to their level, at least to some level. But you can't be tangentially somewhere else. That will never work, right? So how do you start? How do you, whenever a case comes, you have got an email that Marico has given a particular case study, you open a case. How do you start, right? First of all, when you have a company, right? When you have a team, sorry, not a company, when you have a team, make sure that all of you are on the same page, that your first or the 80% of the time that you spend has to be in understanding the problem. 70 to 80% of the time. Trust me. Today, what I've seen most teams do, or in my time also, 70-80% of the time used to go in preparing the PPT. That is not how it is supposed to be. Most of your time should go in understanding the problem statement. Identifying the right problem statement is the key. Now, there are certain ways that you can do that. In some of you might say that in a lot of cases, the question is directly asked that, how do you think we can do this? How do you think we can do that? Agreed. But still, that is a question that is asked. That is not the problem statement. Let me give an example. In one of the ITC Interbank marketing cases, it was about an Atta brand. It was not Ashirwad, some other Atta brand, a new variant of the Atta, which was a less sugar release Atta, something related to that. And the question that they had was, how can we reach the market better? The market share that we have is not that much. How can we reach to the right audience? How can we, increase the sales? How can we increase the market share? Now, this is a direct question that was asked, but this is not the problem statement. The problem statement is something else. Once you go through in depth of the problem, only then you will understand what the problem statement was and how you have to solve it. I will talk about this example when we go through examples, but right now just hold on to that. Okay. Also, in most of the cases, I have seen that people, when they're reading the case, if they see that the case is, let's say, about some known brand, and in most of the cases, the competitions come from bigger companies with known brands, then whatever biases we have regarding, अच्छा Pepsi का ये case आया, इसमें तो ये ऐसे ही होता है, this is what I know, मतलब ये case वही है. No, don't limit your assumptions. You just cannot take any assumption basis your biases. Do not do that. I have done that and I have failed in that particular case. That's why I'm telling you out of experience. We assumed something basis our market knowledge, but the case was asking something else, right? We didn't even get a shortlist. So don't ever do that. What you need to do is sit with your team, 3 to 4 members or 2 members, whatever. Everyone should read the case individually. That's how I started. That's how you should start. That's my suggestion. Everyone should read the cases individually and have formed their own understanding, whatever they have. Then the entire team sits together and talk about every single line of the case, every single word of the case, so that every one of you are on the same page. And you're discussing everything in detail of what this word means, what this word means, what this paragraph means, and all of that. Trust me, you might feel that this is something, this is an exercise that will take a lot of time and you will not get anything out of it. No, the most that you will get out of is this exercise. Because once you as a team are sure of this is what the problem statement is and understand the case in detail, that's when you will be able to solve the problem much better, right? Now, I think some of you guys had the question of how do we do the research? How do we understand what is the strategy to go through, or how do we know more about the company, know more about the cases? So I've just listed down a few, which is primary research. This is something that always worked for me or for my team. Was we did market work. We did on-ground market work. Now in COVID times, of course, that's probably not possible, but you always have the phone. So pick up the phone and talk to people. Now, in a lot of cases, you will get some case studies regarding some consumers, some brand. For example, this Ashirwad Atta that was there. Any brand such as that, you always will be able to figure out, or you need to figure out the target audience. Figure out a sample study, sample set from your own set of families and friends, and understand from them. Take their interviews, talk about their experiences. How do they interact with the brand? How do they, what's their decision process of making the buy and all of that? Once you talk to them to understand how they are buying or how they are not buying, or what is their primary reasons of probably selecting or not selecting a particular brand, only then you will be able to understand the details of the case, right? The question that is directly asked has a lot of questions behind it. If a case is asking how can we increase our online presence, think about it. All of you will probably think in the same direction. Social media campaign करेंगे, ट्विटर पे ये डालेंगे, यहाँ पे ये डालेंगे, यूट्यूब पे ऐड डाल देंगे, वेब सीरीज में ऐड डाल देंगे, ये कर देंगे. Everyone will think in the same direction because we have limited options and everyone will think directly to the solution. कि इसने पूछा है कि सोशल मीडिया कैंपेन कैसे अच्छा करना है या डिजिटल मार्केटिंग में कैसे आगे बढ़ना है, we will all do this. We'll just give them a list of all the options that they can do to touch all the digital touch points. But that is not what they're looking for. They already know they can do it. Then why have they given a case study for that, right? The idea is you have to go in depth, do the market work, understand the ground level issues, interview people from the right sample set, and get to the consumer personas. I'll talk more about that, and get the insights from the market. One last thing that we always tried to do was to get insights from the company employees itself. Now this helped me in Marico, where they gave a particular case study to us, and I had a few friends there. More often than not, you will be able to figure out some seniors or someone you know who is working in that particular company. So pick up your phone and talk to them. Talk to them about what the company is thinking about this particular thing. What are the solutions that have already been done? Because if you are thinking in some direction and the company is also doing that, you will at least get some sense of, okay, what you are thinking is in the right direction. But if the company is doing something completely different and what you have thought is something completely different in a different direction, then you will also get to know that probably what you're doing is wrong. Okay. And you will also get a lot of insights when you talk to company employees. Okay. Now this is what I used to do for my primary research. For secondary research, a lot of you had mentioned in your surveys also, when we asked what exactly do you want to know, you wanted to know a lot of this. Now this is very important. You can make a note of where you can get information. Now for company related information, the annual reports of the companies, and of course the social media presence nowadays, the companies have a lot: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Insta. You will see the different kind of campaigns that the companies are doing, the different kinds of ads, or what stands is the company taking in a particular matter. All of that you will find out. And in the annual reports, this is very important. And I'm not just talking about the 3 financial statements. I'm talking about the entire annual report, which is prepared for the investors. Because the text, the 40-50 page annual report that is there, the text of that annual report contains the key information. We generally tend to look at only the financial statements and see the top executive summary. But if you really want to know about the company, about any particular category that the company is looking to expand in, or what is the company doing, the plans for the future and all of that, you will get that in the text of the annual report. That helped me a lot. So I'm sure it will help you as well. For any industry related information, IBEF, which is the India Brand Equity Forum, it's a very, very good website. Very good website to get the industry specific reports, certain sector specific reports, growth or some category growth, all of that is there. So you can go ahead and look at that. That's a very, very important area that you will probably do in your secondary research, of trying to be able to make your solutions viable by showing that this is what is happening in the industry, and that's why we should do this. Euromonitor, Bloomberg, or other reports. That Euromonitor is also really good. You can get a list of I think India level statistics there as well regarding GDP, categories, growth, and all of that. Bloomberg, of course, everyone is aware of. Country specific, one of the things that I found really interesting was CIA World Fact Book. This is where you will get country specific data for a lot of demographics or certain trends that are there in the country. One thing that a lot of we miss out in our MBA is on the library databases. Now, a lot of our colleges, they have tie-ups with great companies and great these industry bodies. And the libraries, our libraries have bought those databases. So do go and check out if you have access to different databases like EBSCO is one I remember for some research reports. There are quite a few other databases as well that will give you industry specific reports, company specific reports. If you just go and search that report, if you search it online, you will find a lot of those reports are paid. In fact, in Euromonitor also, a lot of those industry specific trends, industry specific reports are paid. But if you just go and check that same report in a library, it might be the case that your college has already bought that and it might be free. All right. So this is the entire summary of how you have to start. Just repeating it once again, the problem identification is the key, guys. If you understand the problem, you will be able to give them a decent enough solution, and that's what the company judges are looking for, right? I also gave you a list of methods for primary research, secondary research. Please make sure that you make a note and go ahead and do that, right? What I'm going to do is now give you a very unique way. Now, those of you who are aware of design thinking, they might be aware of this diagram. For others, this is a very simple diagram of problem solving. And this is how your case solving also goes, right? Initially, when you're given a problem statement, you are first supposed to explore, diverge in all different directions, try and understand, this is the research phase where you're trying and understanding the different data from a lot of different areas. And then once you have all the data, you have to converge to a specific problem definition. This is where most of the people fail. Now, I'm not going to keep talking about the same thing that people fail here. I'm also, after this slide, I'm going to give you a few methods of how can you actually reach the right problem definition. Okay. And then once you have the problem statement, you again diverge by exploring what are different areas, what are different ideas that we might have. That's the solution space. And then again, you converge to some solutions by selecting some ideas that you have using some criteria and then present that solution. Right? This is how you need to think of your solutions. What I'm going to do is give you a few frameworks. Now, this is where I'm going to talk about frameworks. A few frameworks or a few models to talk or to pick your brains on how to think of identifying the problem, how to do brainstorming. This is also one of the things that I got in a question, and how to then ideate, how to get different ideas, and then how to select ideas. All right. One of the first models that I have to share with you is an empathy map, right? You can also think about this as a customer understanding map, or you can name the model or framework anything that you want. The idea or the goal behind this is to understand in depth what does the consumer or customer feel or want. Now, this is specific to a marketing case study. Yeah, this is also specific to areas where you are talking to different stakeholders because a particular problem or a particular case might have 3 different stakeholders. You need to figure out which stakeholders' problem are you trying to solve. This also helps you in that. So very simple model. Who are you empathizing with? As I said, you need to understand who your customer is, who the person is, what situation are they in, what do you want them to do, what do you want to understand from them. Then step into their shoes. This is what I meant when I was talking about taking interviews from people, doing the on-ground market work, seeing how people react or seeing how people interact with a particular brand. Observe that, understand how they are interacting with their immediate environment. What are they saying? What are they doing? What are they hearing? And then ultimately, it comes down to what are the pains and what are the gains that you have understood out of all of this. This is just one of the models or frameworks that will help you define your problem in a very concise manner, that you have understood your consumer really well and you have understood what are their pains, what are their gains, and then you are going to ideate and solve for those areas. All right. Next, this is a consumer persona. I'm sure a lot of you might already know, the marketing folks, the finance folks might have already known this, but a lot of us forget doing this, right? Whenever you are solving a case study, and if it involves a consumer, if it involves a brand, then you need to have a consumer persona, a customer persona, to understand the consumer in detail, to understand what are the goals, what are the challenges, what the person wants, what drives the person. All of this information is very, very important. Again, the way to get this information we've already spoken about, which is through interviews, through your some of the secondary research, through the social media, all of that. You will get a lot of insights on what the consumers are talking about, how they interact with a brand, how they do this, what are the challenges that they're facing. Once you have a persona, once you have a consumer persona, it will be very easy for you to then buying our product. Our product is available, what the person means.
So there is a bit of
What the
lag happening on your end, I think. A bit of
sorry, 1 second.
Issues.
I think the connection might be a little unstable.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me now?
Right now, yes.
All right. If there's any lag, then do stop me. I'll try and change the connection. All right.
Cool, Sasha. Sure, Sasha. You can go ahead right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm saying is the way you story tell or the way you float your solution is you spoke to consumers like this. The persona of your consumer is like this. And the person usually goes to this area to buy this product. It doesn't understand this, understands this. That's why chooses this. That's why doesn't choose this. And that's how you'll be able to align your solution well with what you have researched on and what's the problem. All right. So empathy maps is one. Persona based solutioning is one. This is one of the things which I love and which I have used extensively, which is the customer journey map. Right. I'm just going to take 2 minutes and tell you what this is. Now, this is an example of a Europe train booking site. Okay. What this does is very simply, what are the different stages in a consumer's journey? First, research and planning, then shopping, then booking, then post-booking, actually traveling, and post-traveling. These are all the stages in the customer's journey. In all of these stages, what does the customer actually do? So this is just the observation of how he or she does the work. So entering some information, live chat, or researching, or talking with friends, planning, interacting, all of this. Then in the booking, post-booking stage, they do like this, planning, calling, or something like that. And then post-travel, how are they interacting? I'm not going into the details of because we are running short of time. So then once this doing part is done, then you mention all the thinking, feeling, and experience of the consumers in each of these different phases. In each of the phases, you will talk about what the consumer was thinking, how he or she was feeling, and what was the experience in terms of different parameters. Once you have this entire journey map, then you go towards the solutioning, saying that these are the 6 phases that we have, where these are all the different touch points that we have with a consumer. In touch point number 3, 4, and 5, we are doing really well. But in touch point number 1, 2, and 6, we are not doing well. And these are the opportunities that we have in those. And this is what we should do to solve the problem. That's the structured thinking. That's the holistic perspective that the judges are looking for. All right. So this is another idea or another framework that you can go ahead and use. Now, once that is done, finally, once you have diverged and understood the problem, then you need to converge. One of the ways of converging is preparing a how might we statement. This how might we statement is a very simple problem statement. So the example given here is if you have the insight after all of doing all that research, is that licking someone else's ice cream cone is more tender than a hug. So in some cultures, this might be what they want. This might be what they are looking for. So then how do you solve the problem? So these are the different areas that you're touching. How can you amp up the good? How can you focus on emotions? Because each of these problem statements have different solutions. How can you amp up the good will have different kind of advertisement as compared to if you're focusing on emotions, then it will be a different kind of advertisement. If you're focusing on some assumption, that will be a different kind of advertisement. All right. So this is just to quickly give you an example of why it is so important to understand the problem statement in detail and only then go to the solutions. So how might we statement, you can just write the statement as how might we solve XYZ problem by doing your solution that will help the client or customer or consumer then write the benefits that they have. This is one of the easiest ways to define your problem statement correctly. All right. This is the problem identification and problem statement stage. Once you have identified the problem, once you have understood the consumer, the customer in detail, once you have understood everything, then you, of course, you need to brainstorm and get into new ideas. Now, a few of the ideas, a few of the areas that has helped me is regarding brainstorming. One of the questions that I found in the survey also was that how do you brainstorm? How should we actually brainstorm? Now, this is one of the idea clusters is a way to brainstorm, right? During brainstorming, please make sure that when you sit as a team, initially, you don't even talk to each other. You just sit individually and write down the top 15 ideas that you have and force yourself to write the 15 ideas. It cannot be 14. You have to write 15 or more, or let's say the number 10 or more. Everyone individually has to write 10 ideas. Then you post all of your ideas in this cluster. Once you have all of the ideas, so if there are 4 members, then 40 ideas. You have to write 40 ideas. What this helps you do is this helps you do 2 things. First, see, many of us will be thinking in the same direction. Many of us will be thinking in similar terms. So this forces you to purge out all the not so good ideas that you might have. And everyone has both kind of ideas, right? As soon as a problem statement is given, our human mind starts running to, solve a lot of different problems. So as soon as that happens, we have a lot of different kind of ideas. Then club the different ideas together to give a different idea clusters. All right. For example, if a few of you are writing similar things, then that might come here as become an idea cluster. This entire idea will then become a concept. So you can then go and figure out and hit those concepts. The concept fan means once you have a concept, it becomes a category. And once you have that category, then you can probably then look at category. अच्छा इस category में ये भी हम सोच सकते हैं, वो भी सोच सकते हैं. Then you can get more ideas, so you can further fan out of those ideas. All right. So this is one of the different ways. This is a very important and very useful way of brainstorming, which is probes. So let's say you have a list of all the ideas that you're currently having, and you are just not able to think how to get more ideas. Now, these are the innovation probes. These probes help you, again, this is one of the models or frameworks. These probes help you think in a different direction. That when you get, when someone probes you, okay, think from what are your competitors doing? Think from the eyes of an 8-year-old child. Think something in the nature. So all of these are different probes that if you force yourself to think from these probes, then probably you will start getting different kind of ideas. And you never know, you might get a really, really good idea there, right? So this also is something that really helps. And lastly, I'm sure a lot of you in your MBA are already doing this, which is selecting the right idea. This 2x2 matrix, you can get anything on the X and Y axis, doesn't matter. You just need to be able to figure out the 4 different quadrants and then place your ideas here, and whichever idea is the most feasible and can be directly, is more implementable, you directly go and start doing that. So this is what I had regarding the different tips that I had for your the approach to a case study. How do you ideate? How do you solve or how do you think about the problem? How do you finalize on a problem? And then how do you ideate? Okay. Now moving to a few financial tips. Now, before we go there, the biggest difference that I've seen in PPTs or in competitions in teams that have won and in teams that have not won have been the use of financials. Now, a lot of you might be, facing a lot of difficulties in how to give those financials, how to come up with the financials, where to look for the data, right? These are some of the tips that I have for you, right? Financials in a case need not be the exact data. Even ballpark figures are fine. The key to financials, just remember, guys, the only one thing that you need to remember from this slide is that the key to taking the right numbers or to taking numbers which are close enough is the right assumptions. You will be grilled on, you will be asked of why you have taken a particular assumption. So the key is to take the right assumptions. Only when you are able to take the right assumptions will you be able to figure out the numbers which are close enough. How do you take assumptions? If you have the numbers for some particular category, some particular brand, good enough. If you don't have, then you use surrogates, you use proxies. For example, if you have to get the data of a particular shampoo brand in a particular area, and if that shampoo is currently not being sold there, then how will you get that data? How will you get the potential selling data there? You will take the surrogate, the segment, you will take the segment and the other brand which is selling there and take that data. That's like a proxy that you're using or a surrogate that you're using to make your assumptions. So all your assumptions need to be properly justified by logic, and that is the key to all your financials in the case. In also some of the cases I've seen people, they don't get even close to the numbers because they haven't put that effort. Now, just calling and asking is very easy. As if let's say you have given a solution and you have given an idea of putting up some kiosk desk. This is just an example. So the least that you can do is just quickly make a call, figure out from a few people the rent of a particular mall in a particular day of a kiosk, figure out the average footfall that you have in that particular mall, figure out the eyeballs that you are going to get in a day, multiplied by the number of days, multiplied by number of months, figure out the cost, figure out the the income that you're going to have in terms of eyeballs there, and that's how you give the financials. There is no model, there is no framework for analyzing the financials. The only framework is cost, benefit, and whether you should go for it or not. That's it. That's what judges are looking for, right? One of the things that I've seen is, if in case you have no data, in case there is no financial data that's given in the case, then what you can do is take two scenarios, the closest that you feel. Scenario one will have XYZ, scenario two will have some other, and then I do the calculation in both the scenarios and say that scenario one has a more probability. So that's why you feel this is going to happen, right? Another approach is to start small. This generally works in guesstimates, where let's say you need to figure out the sales of a particular brand in India, right? So you go to one of your nearest stores, figure out the kind of store, figure out the number of stores that might be there in your area, then in your state, then in India, and then figure out the sales in one store and then multiply it by that number of stores. Now, of course, it's a guesstimate, but that's the best way of taking a unit-based approach. One thing that I've always seen is, which has helped me, is to give the financial numbers mostly in variable form, which is 3x growth or 5x growth or 5% increase as compared to exact numbers. So that also helps, because you might not crack the exact number, but giving a 3x growth is something that will close well with the judges, right? Now, for financial data of companies, I've already said you have to go to the annual reports, and that's where you will get. One of the things that's going to be a key differentiator is analyzing the financial reports, right? These three things have helped me, which is common size statements, return on equity, and financial ratios. Now, common size statement is something that has always helped me. It's the easiest way, but it gives the most data. when you're analyzing any financial report, you need to come up with any insight of why a company is not doing well this year, why the company was doing well the previous year, right? I've just taken a very small example. I'm going to take a minute to talk about this. It's a very simple example of a common size statement. Common size statement is where you divide all the numbers in this statement by the net sales or net income or something like that, right? So if you see this statement, you can say that in both year 1, year 2, years, in all the 3 years, there is difference in the terms of the cost of goods sold. So we can see that the cost of goods sold was constantly increasing as compared to the previous years. So if we look at the net income in the end, there's a direct correlation of why the net income in year 1 is so low as compared to year 3, right? We can also see that the expenses have also reduced, right, in year 3 as compared to year 1. So in both, the expenses have constantly been increasing in year 1 as compared to year 3. Now, why I have taken 30 seconds, 45 seconds to speak about this is because doing a common size statement analysis is something that's very easy. It's very easy, but it gives you a lot of insights on why the company is, falling down on profit, or why the company's expenses are increasing, and so on. So that helps. Right. So I am almost done with all the content that I wanted to share. Now let's quickly move to the examples that I want to share with you. I'm not going to take a lot of time. So give me a second. All right. So the first example will be the Marico example, right? Can someone confirm if they can still see my screen, or I'll have to share the screen again?
Yeah. Perfectly visible.
All right. So guys, please pay all your attention. Probably this is what you have been waiting for. So this is an example of a case study where the problem statement that was mentioned was that the sales of Parachute, which is the key brand for Marico, the sales of Parachute are good, but the sales of other brands of Marico are dipping down in a lot of stores. So what are the different assortment selling solutions that can be given? This is what the case was all about. Now, if you see what we have done here, we have mentioned our flow, what I'm going to tell them. The first T in the TTT model is mentioned right here, the presentation flow, right? Then in this, if you look at the way that the slide is built, this slide, this PPT was built to be submitted. And the funda that I used to have is, whenever I'm submitting a PPT, I will not leave a single ounce of white space in that PPT, because there's a lot that I want to talk about, and everything I'll be talking about here only, right? Now, in this PPT, you will not see a single framework. No framework has been used. The framework is basically my thought process. So we started with, what is the right model for success? There are 3 different options. And then we discussed about what are different kind of stores where we are talking about the sales. Are we talking about the sales in small store or medium store or large store? We have also defined what these stores mean. When are we calling a store small? When are we calling a store medium? Right? And then we gave 3 initial solutions based on insights and segmentation. Solution number 1, 2, 3, right? Then we have also mentioned the financial assumptions that we have taken. If you remember, the assumptions that you make are the key, whether you have made the right assumptions or not. So we have mentioned all the assumptions that we made in terms of, when we say a small store has this average value, and why did we make it like that, right? We have mentioned all the assumptions, and then we have mentioned the different solutions, and we have compared the different solutions and basis certain parameters. Now this parameter, if you see, all these parameters are there, and the last solution is also highlighted in green. So in one slide only, I have mentioned so many different things. That these are the 4 options, these are all the different parameters, and then finally I'm selecting this particular solution because this has the maximum benefit. right? Now the framework, as is the topic of this session, there's no framework. The framework is, what is the problem? What are the different options that we have? What are the financials in the different options? And then once I've chosen this hybrid model, then how am I going about it? That's the solution. So this is the criteria based evaluation. Again, rationale. See, in the criteria based evaluation of solutions also, I have mentioned it here. Now, why I have taken a particular thing as medium, high, or low is also mentioned here, so that you are, leaving no stone unturned in explaining whatever you're thinking in the PPT. Because when the PPT is submitted, you're not there to talk. So everything has to be there, right? Now, this SWOT analysis is something that we were asked to do in this. That's why we had done it. It doesn't have any meaning here. And this is where the solution comes in, which is, how can we drive superior performance? So the model that we used was simple. So performance can be driven by filling the capability gap, making sure that the capacity of the sellers are increased, and all of that. So I'm talking more in terms of technical, but the idea is that you understand that there is no framework, there is no model that is used. What is used is just pure logic. Okay, so we figured out, this is all our research, that why do we need a capability program? If you talk about model, it's a simple why, what, when, how model. Why, what, when, how. So why do we need this program? What should this program means? When should this program be delivered? How should it be delivered? Also the insights from benchmarking, and how can we link this to performance? So again, in one slide, all the different pointers. Driving superior performance. Second step is capacity and enablers. You might, again, guys, the disclaimer is you might not understand the technicals. The only reason I'm showing this slide is for you to show, for you to see and understand the approach, and understand the different way that you need to prepare the PPTs. I'll also talk about the financials, how we have done it here. Okay. And this is then the different incentive structure that we made. And then we made the challenges also, the operational challenges, and how to overcome those challenges. And that's it, right? Now, we only won the campus round here. We did not win the national finals here. Can anyone guess the reason? Guys, you can use the chat box, or yeah, if someone is raising their hand,
Yeah,
if you can just speak.
Pratik, go ahead.
The financials are not clearly mentioned on the slide.
Financials were not the major reason, because financials, we mentioned the financials initially only when we were doing this. This is the financials. And so financials was not the major reason. Financials was probably one of them, but financials was not the major reason. Okay, let me not waste a lot of time. So if you look at the reason why we did not go or win the finals here, was because we had given a lot of ideas, but these are only ideas. These are not implementable solution. An idea is a solution only when it is doable, only when it is implementable. We did not give the implementation plan. We did not tell them, how can you implement this? What people or what companies are looking for when they're judging is, can you give them a solution which they can directly go and implement? Now, this was not one of them, because the implementation plan was not there. How can you go and directly implement it was not there. So that was one of the feedback that we got, because of which we were not able to win. We didn't win the finals. Right? This is one of the examples that I wanted to show. Now let me, why is this not working? Yeah, let me take another example, and let me show you the, okay, let me take an HR example. So there was an HR case that we were given, and in ITC, it was about a plant is not doing well, the costing has increased a lot, and the company was figuring out whether to close the plant or whether to give a VRS. VRS is a voluntary retirement scheme. So we had to figure out what to do, and if it's a VRS, then how should the VRS be given. Now, this is an executive summary that they had asked us to prepare. So we prepared the executive summary where we clearly mentioned the approach that we have taken, what all analysis we have done. So again, no framework here, okay? No framework. Only thing is the approach. This approach is also not in any framework format. Yes.
Sumit, are you presenting another slide? We can only see the example slide.
How is that?
Are you
possible?
presenting something else?
Yes. 1 second. Oh, so you have to keep changing. All right, can you see it now?
Yeah. It's a Word doc, right?
Yes. So it's an interbank. It's an interbank case study Word document. So they have asked to prepare an executive summary.
Yeah.
So if you look at, again, there is no framework here. What is important is the approach that you have followed. So we have mentioned the entire approach that we have, and then we have mentioned the analysis that we had done. So in order to give any VRS, you first need to figure out, is there any excess manpower? What is the number of excess manpower? How many people should go for the VRS? Who should you offer the VRS to? Who should you not offer the VRS to? How do you, how do you encourage people to take VRS? Because you can't force it on them. So all of this was there, and we did all of these analysis. Now, I'm not going to take much time here. I'm going to show you the PPT that I have, but this is just to show you that this entire Word doc was converted into that PPT, and that's what I'm going to show. Again, see, the financials are right here. Now, HR folks might think that HR cases mein financials kaise honge ya kya honge, but that also in HR cases, it's also the financials are the most important in any case for that matter, because see guys, ultimately it's a business problem and you're solving a business problem. Any business problem which is being solved, you need to make sure that you are solving it in a way that's, profitable or at least financially viable. That's what is important. Okay. So we did a lot of financials here as well in terms of how many people do we have, what's the average monthly income that they have, what is it supposed to be in the next few years when they achieve their superannuation or gratuity, how much do we need to give them in their gratuity, so what's the total cost of retrenchment. A lot of data was given here, a lot of data was not given here, and that's why we took a lot of assumptions. The key difference that we had in our solution that made us win this was, of course, one was financials, but the second was the implementation, where we clearly mentioned how you need to implement this. Communication, we identified that communication is the key. So how do you communicate to line managers? How do you communicate to union workers? In fact, we went to the level where we actually designed the communication for them. What's the preamble for the communication? That we designed in English as well as in the vernacular language also. And then the cost analysis, of course, attached here. Yeah. So one tip that I have whenever you're doing these case studies is, if you can create, great creatives, if you can have great creatives in your PPTs, in your solutions, that always helps. If you can have videos in your solutions, that always helps. If you can have, slogans, if you can show good creatives, that's something that has always helped me, in order to grab the attention of the judges more. Now, the same thing, if I just quickly go and show it to you, 1 second. Yeah. So the same thing was converted to a presentation. 1 second, let me share that. Yeah, I hope you can see the presentation. Can someone confirm if they can see the presentation?
Yes, yeah. Team Nexus, right?
Yes. Yeah. Great. So see, this is the same executive summary converted into a PPT, where we showed what are we going to talk about. Agenda is right here, and then we took individual situation analysis. Again, what's important is the inferences that we had out of this. Okay, numbers are important, inferences are important. Now, this is one slide that took me more than 3 hours to make. In this one slide, we have made the point of how we analyze the manpower, what is the key insight that we had, and that's why who should we target. So look at the logical approach that's coming out of this slide. It's not just written bullet point by bullet point. That's not how this is made, right? You see what is the approach, what's the current scenario, therefore what is the need, and if this is the need, then what does this mean, that who should you target. So a very, very logical approach of how you have to go about. Understood? Now, the second one was the designing of the scheme. So of course, this is again technical, so I'm not going to go deep into it, but we designed the scheme in terms of the years of service that they had. And again, this is stakeholder analysis, something that we were asked to do. This is the detailed financials. Now, one of the things that's very important here is the assumptions. What are the assumptions that we took for retrenchment? What are the assumptions that we took for the VRS scheme in terms of salaries, in terms of increase of the salaries, how many people would be opting for VRS, what's the discount rate taken, the salary that we are taking, what's the number of days in a week. So all of these things, small things, but important things, we assumed it, and only basis that we created the financials, right? And that's how we showed that the total cost of the VRS scheme is something that's going to be much lesser than closing down the plant. So you should go for the VRS. And once you are going for the VRS, then we basically rectified the mistake that we had made earlier of not telling the management that how they can do it. So then we went ahead and showed the entire implementation plan of what should be the communication to top management, what should be the company communication, pre-execution communication. So this is like a format of change management. How do you deal with change management? So pre-execution communication, then what should be the communication to the union, to the employees. And we also gave them a preamble of the communication, the text, how should you communicate and all of that. All right. Mid-execution communication. So it's all about communication, and that was majorly about it. Right. So this was regarding the Interbank competition, Marico. I also have Samsung Edge to show, but I don't think we have a lot of time. So I think I will stop now, and I'll be open for questions. Yeah. So Harshit?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, sir, for the insightful session. It was, I think everyone learned a lot of new things, which I think were never told before, or something that's needed to be done. Sir, so we'll start with the Q&A. And I'll first ask, since due to the paucity of time, there's a common question that people might be having, and I'll ask it on their behalf. Sir, so a lot of people are skeptical about this online environment, right? The kind of learning that one faces on, that one gets to have on campus, along with senior junior interactions or case studies done on campus, it hasn't been the same because of online environment, right? For as a matter of fact, people haven't been able to even know themselves, know each other. Let's not talk about forming the right team, right? So, and given the fact that, so I'm assuming that they'll be going back to campus in their second year, right after, and there will be no senior to them who will be guiding them, and they'll be on their own. And also they have their added responsibility of maybe guiding their juniors as well. So how do they face this situation, given the fact that they still have 4 or 5 months left in their first year MBA?
So yeah, a very relevant question, but something that even I haven't experienced. No one in their lifetime might have experienced this. So it's difficult for me to answer, and it's difficult for me to give you the right answer. But what I can do is share my insight on what might work and what might not work. See, guys, it's difficult, right? First of all, the entire world knows, the entire industry knows that you are probably the batch that's going and facing most of the difficulties. So people understand, people empathize. So first of all, do not worry about that you're not getting the same experience and all of that. Yes, you are not. It's a fact, but everyone is on the same boat. Everyone is on the same lines there. That's one. So don't worry, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is, how can you make your experiences better? How can you probably make it as similar to a physical presence experience as possible? See, first of all, whenever you're interacting with people, rather than WhatsApp, try and talk on calls. I have seen that make a huge difference. We as millennials are, of course, used to doing everything on WhatsApp. But in this world where you're not even getting the face time with people, and you just probably people on WhatsApp only, one of the things that works well is just pick up the call and talk, and if possible, talk on video calls. That's a very, very simple example of how I have been doing it, and that is helping to create that connection, to make that connection. As far as getting the same experience in terms of cases is concerned, see, it's difficult to sit together and do those solutions. I understand that, but there are a lot of these online platforms for you to make sure that you're doing productive and collaborative work. I'm sure you already know of all of that. If you have Teams, or if you have Slack, or if you have a lot of the other productivity tools. In fact, you can do that on Google Docs as well, if required, right? Of doing the analysis parallelly or simultaneously. So do that. And whenever you are solving case studies in a digital environment, make sure that you are talking even more on call. If you're reading the cases properly, you're reading the cases together, and you can, probably being with each other as much as you can. I know I'm not giving you a very technical answer, because even I don't know how exactly to, go through this. But what has worked for me is get on calls and focus much more on the other person's feelings rather than just on WhatsApp. That's the only thing that has helped, and probably that will help you once you start doing it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the answer. Guys, please raise your hand and ask questions. Sir, can we take 4 to 5 questions? Can we extend the session?
I have time. I don't have any issue, but since I did not want to, go beyond the time limit, that's why I stopped. I have time, so we can take questions.
Okay. Yeah. Please go ahead. Raise your hand and ask questions, participants. Yeah, Raman, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Sumit, sorry about my video. There's some background movement, so it might disturb everybody. So my question is that like the main thing about the case study is to learn from the previous case studies that we have done. So how would you suggest that we go ahead and take a learning from previous case studies and try on improving that, since we are on our we don't have our seniors exactly to help us every time.
All right. So Raman, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Raman, see, when I learned from the previous experience, it was never from seniors' experience. It was from my own previous experience, and that previous experience came only because I participated. If I never participated and always kept thinking of how can I learn from my previous, there is no previous for me to learn from. The previous will come only when you start participating. So do that. These are the examples of PPTs that I have won. There are also 2 times more number of PPTs that I have, or the cases that I participated in where I did not win. So all of that experience is coming out in this PPT. right? So you have to keep taking part in PPTs or in cases. Just make sure that you don't take part in every competition, because then you will not be able to do justice with the ones that you have taken part in. Pick and choose. If you are getting a lot, then pick and choose the time that you have, the team that you have, pick and choose. But make sure that if you're taking part in something, then you give all your effort, give all your blood and sweat to it. You might not win, but
Just to
only yes.
sorry, continue. I'm sorry.
No, you can go ahead, please. If I'm not answering
Yeah,
the right question, then please go ahead.
No, you are answering it right. Just that, how should I analyze my failures in the previous case studies? See,
that's very simple, right? A very objective way of analyzing is whether you won or not. That's like an objective way. Subjective way is, let's say in some cases you didn't even get a shortlist in the campus round. In some cases you got a shortlist in the campus round, but you did not get a shortlist. You did not win the campus round. So the only way to analyze is if you can understand whether your solutions are hitting with the judges or not, whether you are actually clearing the rounds or not. Because if you're not, then probably that's not what's working. Then you will need to change. Now the question, how do I change? How do I know what's wrong? The answers are here in what I told you. The basic things of whether you have do this checklist, whether you have a structured approach, whether if you give your PPT to someone who doesn't know anything about the company, who doesn't know anything about the case, excuse me. So if you give your PPT to someone like that, and if they are reading it and they are able to understand, only then your PPT makes sense, right? So try and go through your PPT in terms of this lens and see whether people are able to understand your solution. Then figure out or see whether your solution is implementable or not. See whether your solution is viable or not. See whether you have given financial data or not. See whether you have given an implementable idea, not just an idea, not a list of all the ideas, whether it's implementable or not. So these are a few things that you need to look at. These are a few things that I have learned, and it's good that I'm able to share my experiences with you, so that all my learnings I am able to share with you in just 1 hour or 1.5 hours for that matter. So I think if you just follow these through 4 or 5 things or 4 or 5 suggestions that I've given, and that will definitely help you, win the competitions. And once you start preparing more PPTs, you will keep seeing the differences that are there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So next is Nishchay. Nishchay, go ahead.
Hi Sumit. Firstly, thank you so much for covering a lot of new stuff. For example, definitely consumer persona is something that I wanted to understand a little bit more in detail. So that was really helpful, and planning to use that in my future cases. So basically, I have 2 challenges I have been facing while doing the case competitions. I would like if you could highlight a little bit on that. So the firstly being to understand the business perspective in case of B2B businesses, because when it is usually FMCG company, we find it relatable because some time or the other we have been consumers or we are able to think from that perspective. But sometimes when it is for a B2B business, or say from a business to just a distributor or a wholesaler level, we find it difficult to relate and get into the nitty-gritties of things. So how do you suggest we can go in those types of cases? Secondly, in typical cases when there is a need for change in consumer behavior, there is an initial inertia, initial stereotype we need to change. So sometimes it becomes really basic level information. We are not able to come up with something different in those kinds of situations to break the stereotypes. So if you could just highlight some of the points that should be taken care of in both of these types of cases. Thank you.
All right. So thanks, Nishchay. Let me answer the second question first, which is an example of how can we break into stereotypes or how can we change the consumer behavior, right? So let me not give you any gyan. Let me directly take an example from one of the cases that won, right? So that, it's credible, right? So this Ashirwad, the less sugar release atta that I was talking about from ITC, they had introduced that. right? They had introduced a new atta which used to release less sugar, and the idea or the question that they had was that we have this atta, but it's not gaining market share, it's not selling a lot. How do you help us? Can you help us solve this problem? Can you help us gain more market share? Can you help us get more sales? And this is a direct question that was asked, but the way that the solution was given, let me tell you about that so that you understand how to break that. In order to solve this problem, first what we did was we understood the consumer. We went through the consumer journey map and we went through the consumer persona. So both of the things we used. What we understood was, generally, हमारे घर पे भी you might have seen that people, even when they want, they reduce the consumption. People who are diabetic, they reduce their consumption, saying, ठीक है, even if they want to have 3 rotis, they will have only 2 rotis, and saying, नहीं, let me not take one more. And you will see mothers or the one who feeds us, they will keep saying, अरे एक रोटी और ले लो, कुछ नहीं होता, एक रोटी और ले लो, कुछ नहीं होता, right? Now that's the insight that we had out of all of our consumer meetings, out of all of our interviews, out of all of our market work. We used that insight to create a solution to change the consumer behavior. What we did was we created a campaign called #EkRotiAur. This campaign was called Ek Roti Aur campaign, where we are, through our product, through our ITC product, we are saying that now consumers who always used to stop after 2 rotis or 1 roti, who are diabetic, they can take that one more roti, creating an emotional connect with what the mothers are saying, and they are accepting, or the mothers are also happy that they are taking one more roti and not having any side effects or not having any medical issues. So that's what we created. The campaign, we gave the idea of how to run this campaign online. We gave the idea of how to run this campaign through ads, who to target, which consumer to target, and all of that. So that was the way that we solved the problem of changing a particular consumer behavior in order to sell or in order to get our product, the market share. Answers your question?
Yes, definitely, Sumit.
Great. Now let me take the first question, which is any problems if we have in B2B, or any problems if we have, in direct distribution to customer and not consumer, then how do we deal with it? Here also I have a very quick example of one of the credible winners, which is in the Marico. So the people who won the national round, right? The problem was B2B. The problem was Marico as a company was not able to sell to distributors. Now, and the distributors were not able to sell to retailers because the retailers said that we will not keep it if it's not something that's going to sell. This generally happens in new product launches. Now, distributor to retailer is B2B. Okay. Now, this happens in new product launches when the retailers don't even know that there's a new product and they are not ready to keep it. In that case, you need to be able to do the consumer journey, the consumer persona, the understanding of what that customer wants. Most of the cases in B2B, what matters more is the win-win solution that you can give to them. In consumer products, we don't give a win-win solution. We don't say that you buy our product, we also get 20% margin, you get good product, win-win. That's not how we market. But in B2B solutions, what I've seen working is it has to be a win-win situation. So the way we solve that problem of asking our retailers to keep more of our products and not more of the competitor's product was through showing them a clear differentiation in terms of, if you buy this, then these are the kind of margins you earn, these are the kind of consumers you add, this is the value that you will add over the month, and this is the value that you will add over the year. This is what you will earn. So in B2B, what works more is if you show them the clear financial aspect of what will they gain if they do this, what will they lose if they don't do this. That's one that I have seen working pretty well. Of course, I have not taken an example of entire approach because our approach more or less remains the same. But what needs to be focused on more is the win-win scenario for both the businesses.
That actually is really helpful, Sumit. I just wanted to ask one more thing. Does having an incentive program also comes into the picture when we talk about this? Because sometimes initial incentives can also drive the retailers to keep more of our products.
Yeah, definitely. So there are a number of incentive programs that they have. There are a number of incentive programs for keeping a particular product just behind where the retailer sits in a mom and pop store, or there's an incentive for keeping a product in the eye level shelf in a mini market or in a bigger market metro kind of store. So there are incentives for all kinds of these things. Of course, we can get deeper into it, but that will get more technical. So, but yes, that is inclusive of the incentive program as well.
Understood, Sumit. Thank you so much.
Next we have is Satya. I think I'll take, sir, due to paucity of time, we'll take 2 more questions.
Sure. As I'm saying, I have time, but if you guys want to leave, you can.
Yeah, I think we take 2, and then if there are more questions, sir, I can maybe send it to you over text. Will that work?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Satya, go ahead and ask the question.
All right. Thank you, Harshit. Good evening, Sumit sir. Thank you so much for the session. So, sir, I wanted to ask that during the first rounds of the case study presentation, what we get is that we have a limitation on the number of slides we have, and at the same time, we don't get to present the whole slides. So what we have a constant is we have to give the idea, but at the same time, we have to limit the number of words or space we use. So, sir, how to go about that you are not using too much of space, but at the same time, they also get what you're trying to speak. So how to maintain a balance on that?
See, as I said, it's important to have a script. It's important to make sure that when you are talking, when you are preparing, when you have 3 members, 4 members, then you have a script. And once you have the script, what I used to do is we used to rehearse it. We used to time what we are saying. We used to write down 4 sentences or 4 different pointers that out of every slide we will have to talk about. And when we rehearsed it, we knew that if I talk about all of these things, then I will exceed this time. Because you already know the time that you have for each slide, that's given before your presentations. So you have the time to rehearse, right? And that's what helped, because when you have a script, when you have to tell a story, it's important to not digress. It's important to not just, get flown in your thoughts. So that script will always help. Write down what you need to say. Figure out the top 3 ideas that you want to get the recruiters. You have to get the judges to take away from your slides, and that will help.
All right. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Last question will be taken up by Shrey. Shrey, go ahead and ask your question.
Harshit, before taking the question, if you can share the feedback form.
Yeah. Are you there on the call? Okay. So next question, I think Indrani was.
Am I audible?
Yeah, Shreya. Go ahead, Shreya.
Thank you, Harshit. Thank you, Sumit, for this insightful session. I would like to ask, while developing a model, how important is to design exit and enter strategies?
Sorry, can you elaborate on the question a little bit?
I just wanted to know, because sometimes if things go if they are deviating from the original plan and judges don't like it, the plan we are presenting. So in the way, how important is to design an exit strategy as well?
See, an exit strategy is important. Of course, it will not have any meaning if judges are not liking your plan. So there's no time to make an exit strategy after that. Then you will directly be asked to exit. But an exit strategy in terms of, the completion of your or a holistic area of your plan, that's important. I can't give a number of how important it is. It's just that if you want to show that you are starting from somewhere, right? And you have an option of doing A or B, and you are choosing A, then you need to have a rollback strategy. If you have, let's say, if you are launching a new product, then there is no exit strategy as such, right? You're launching it, you want it to be successful. If an existing company has two options of whether launching this or launching that, then you can of course include a rollback strategy, that if in case this option that we have chosen doesn't work, then these are the steps that we will need to follow in order to roll back and have minimum damage. So the only importance that I feel your exit strategy should or has is in terms of when you have multiple options and you also want to show that you are able to roll back the changes that you have made.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for the Q&A part. Also, if we'll be having more questions, I'll be happy to share it over WhatsApp. Will that work, sir?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if you have time, we can take 2 more questions. Otherwise, we can close.
Actually, they were already in a session in the evening as well.
Oh,
so maybe
all right.
because
No
of the
worries.
fatigue. Yeah. Sir, also I would like to announce that Navkiran will be sharing some resources of national level case study competitions. One thing. Next is guys, they would love to have the feedback. So a feedback form is shared here, and it will also be shared with you in the batch as well over WhatsApp. Do not forget to fill that. Also, those who are yet to be placed and want some industry insights in form of reports or placement preparation kits, then also the link has been shared over here, and it will also be shared to the batch. Kindly go through it, follow the steps, whatever is there on the post, and you will get your kit soon. Also, sir, Sumit sir, people are asking about this PPT that you shared. Will you be able to share it with the batch?
Which PPT? The one that I was using for my session?
Yeah, the one for the session and one the Samsung Edge, because you couldn't show it.
All right. I'll see if I can share, then I'll definitely do that. No worries.
Yeah, sure. All right, sir. Anything else you would want to add? I would just like to thank you for the session. Yeah.
No, so thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to interact with all the folks here. I just hope that people got something out of it. I know, sessions online are really difficult. In fact, even I slept in so many online sessions, so I'm sure you guys must also have slept. But I just hope you got something, even if you got 2 or 3 things out of it, and if it helps you in some way, then that will be a success for me. But do guys fill the feedback form, because that will help me as well as Navkiran, us to improve the further sessions that we have. And if you have any other questions, you can definitely go ahead and text Harshit, and I'll try and answer as many of them. So thanks a lot for being a patient audience, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you a lot.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And also I would like to thank Navkiran for organizing yet another session with Team Exemplar. By the looks of it, we are pretty sure that we'll be having more sessions soon in the near future, and maybe when you guys will be on your second year as well. So yeah,
sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your session. Yes, sir. That's it from our side, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Yeah. Participants, please stay back.
And please do fill the feedback. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, definitely. HRM batch, leave. All right.
Harshit, I'm sorry to interrupt. I guess the live is still on YouTube.
Yeah.